I mean, I'm deeply sorry about what happened. Um, Here's, the long and short of what happened. And I'll start by saying, just to make a distinction here, you look at the US platform, you look at the international platform. The US platform is a US regulated platform with American users. To my knowledge, that's fully solvent, that's fully funded. And, I believe that withdrawals could be opened up today and everyone could be made whole from that none of these problems plagued the US platform. Then you look at the international platform, for their non-US users. And as the letter says, Alameda Research did have a long position. And the international platform, it's a margin trading platform, it's a derivatives platform. It's a platform where all the clients were, going on, placing something as collateral and using that to put on a position, whether that's a futures position, a spot position, a borrow. And what the exchange was storing was the collateral from all of those positions. Alameda Research was one of those that put on positions there. And as I try and reconstruct this, over the last month, I have limited access to data, but my view of it, from what I have been able to see, is roughly that, basically, look, a year ago, Alameda had, I think, something like 10% leverage, had something like 10 times the assets of the position that it had on. Over the course of the last year, there were a number of market crashes that drove the value of those assets down and the leverage up. I think it was, to my knowledge, still under 2x leverage, as of a month ago. You look at what happened this month, and in a few days, all out, PR assault, which led to a total market collapse in a pretty short period of time, no bid side liquidity. I think more than $10 billion wiped off in the matter of days. And realistically speaking, no ability for FTX to be able to liquidate that position.
Sam Bankman-Fried, the beleaguered former CEO of the collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX, denied having known about the improper use of customer funds in an explosive interview as FTX faces allegations that it mishandled billions of dollars of customer funds. Hello and welcome to Money Talks. In today's video, Sam Bankman-Fried first public comment since FTX filed for bankruptcy. He pushed back on the notion that ties between FTX and Alameda Research were inappropriate by saying that he wasn't running Alameda at the time. This was his first public comment since FTX filed for bankruptcy.
And at the end of the day, I was CEO of FTX. And that means whatever happened, wherever it happened, I had a duty to all of our stakeholders, to our customers, our creditors. I had a duty to our employees, to our investors, and to the regulators in the world, to do right by them, to make sure the right things happened at the company. And clearly, I didn't do a good job of that. Clearly, I made a lot of mistakes or things I would give anything to be able to do over again. I didn't ever try to commit fraud on anyone. I was excited about the prospects of FTX a month ago. I saw it as a thriving, growing business. I was shocked by what happened this month. And, reconstructing it, where there are things I wish I had done differently.
Sam Bankman-Fried said he, quote, really deeply wishes he had taken a lot more responsibility for knowing the details of what transpired leading up to the crash.
There's that piece from the terms of service, but there were a number of other parts of the terms of service and a number of other parts of the platform on top of that. There is the borrow lending facility, where users were lending billions of dollars of assets to each other, collateralized by assets on the exchange. You had obviously futures contracts where there are leveraged positions on. Now, of course, all of this, it's meant to be the case that these are positions where FTX could, if it needed to, margin call those positions and close them down in time such that it would cover all of those, all those shorts, all those liabilities. Obviously, that wasn't the case here, and that's a massive failure of oversight of risk management and of diffusion of responsibility from myself running FTX.
The embattled former CEO says he has, quote, basically nothing left, following his resignation after FTX filed for bankruptcy last month when reports emerged about improper use of funds in its failed effort to prop up its sister trading firm, Alameda Research.
So I'll point to two things. And first of all, obviously, I don't know what anyone else is thinking here. I can only talk about it from what I know, from what I knew. And a lot of this is reconstructing it over the last month. I have limited access to data, but what it seems like happened is in the middle of the year, a lot of most of the borrow lending desks in the space blew out or closed down, and it seems like Alameda had margin positions opened with them, and that it likely moved a bunch of that over to FTX this year when they shut down. And that means, I think it was over-collateralized positions, but positions that involve substantial size and substantial US dollar size on the borrow side. In terms of the accounting mistake, again, looking through what happened, I think that there is a substantial discrepancy between what the financials were, what the audited financials were, the true financials, what the exchange understood. All of that was consistent, versus what the dashboards that we had displayed for Alameda's account there, which substantially under-displayed the size of that position. And so that's one of the reasons that I was surprised when we dug into everything at how big that position had become.
But he also denied FTX had a party culture or that he witnessed illegal drug use by FTX employees, following rumors of drug-fueled parties that dominated staff culture. Bankman-Fried had told the New York Times on Wednesday the parties were more along the lines of get-togethers that included board games and dinners.
I think the question is whether you were supposed to have access to these accounts to begin with. If I worked at a bank and was a bank teller, yep, and I decided to leave the bank at the end of the evening and take the cash that I ostensibly had access to, even if I intended to bring it back to the bank later, even with, yep, more money to give them back, I still stole the money.
I mean, look, I wasn't running Alameda. I didn't know exactly what was going on. I didn't know the size of their position. A lot of these are things I've learned over the last month that I learned as I was sort of frantically digging into this on November 6th, November 7th, November 8th. Obviously that's a pretty big mistake on Mark. That's a pretty big oversight that I wasn't more aware. I think I was scared of, I was nervous because of the conflict of interest about being too involved. Obviously that shouldn't have meant that I didn't have real oversight, and it really shouldn't have meant that I failed to appoint anyone to be in charge of that oversight, that relationship. But I haven't been running Alameda. I haven't been, thinking about its finances. I haven't been, making those decisions. But as CEO of FTX, it was still my duty to make sure that someone was doing diligence. But
so why wouldn't have you been focused on it if, in fact, that's actually where the profits were?
Well, I don't know that that's where. I mean, I think Alameda had made trading profits over the last few years, but FTX had made profits as well. FTX had been a profitable, growing business, and that was more than a full-time job. I didn't have the bandwidth to run two companies at once. I didn't have the attention for it. And again, I was nervous about a conflict of interest between those two, and so was pretty intentional about not being very involved in what was happening at Alameda.
In the interview, his first public comment since FTX filed for bankruptcy, he said he, quote, wasn't running Alameda at the time, pushing back on the notion that ties between FTX and Alameda Research were inappropriate. So what do you think about Sam Bankman-Fried's take on the FTX collapse and the fraud acquisition? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.